Well, good evening, everybody. I am here with this edition of Bright Hope for Tomorrow, and I am joined by my wonderful daughter, Chloe. And she is here to help me give you some bright hope for tomorrow by reading a passage of Scripture in 2 Samuel. Chloe and I, at bedtime in the evenings, we have been reading 1st and 2nd Samuel. And the other night we got to a passage of 2 Samuel right in chapter 1 that might be a little bit strange for you to think about, but we think that when you really understand what it means, you're going to have bright hope for tomorrow. It's 2 Samuel chapter 1, starting in verse 14. And what you need to know is that King Saul has died. He got injured in battle and he fell on his own sword. But a man comes up to David and wants to boast to David about something good that he thought he has done. And he says that he actually killed Saul. It wasn't true, but he said he did that. And this is what David said to him in 2 Samuel 1 verse 14. How is it you were not afraid to stretch out your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed? And David called one of the young men and said, Go, cut him down. So he struck him and he died. And David said to him, Your blood is on your head, for your mouth has testified against you, saying, I have killed the Lord's anointed. Now, to really understand what's going on here, you have to understand what was happening in 1 Samuel. So, who was the king in 1 Samuel? Saul was the king in 1 Samuel. And he was the king because who anointed him as the king? God anointed him as the king. Now, was Saul a good king? No, he wasn't a good king. In fact, he was such a bad king that God makes clear that he had rejected him as king and that he had installed David in his place. But David wasn't the king yet, right? So, Saul was a bad king. David had been anointed as the true and future king. And what did David have the opportunity to do a couple of times?
He had the opportunity to kill him.
Had the opportunity to kill the king, which could be a good deal, because as soon as the King Saul is rubbed out, then the King David can become the king as he knows he's going to be, right?
Yeah.
But he never took out Saul. Why not?
Because Saul was the Lord's anointed.
Saul was the Lord's anointed. Even though he was bad, even though he was sinful, he wouldn't take matters into his own hand, because who made Saul king? God. And so who was David bound and determined was not going to make him not the king?
What?
That's kind of a tricky one. David was sure he wasn't going to be the one to take Saul out after God had put him in, right?
Yeah.
So Saul is the king. He's the Lord's anointed. David won't take him out. And then David hears about this man who claims to take out King Saul. And what did David do to him?
He killed him.
He killed him as punishment. Because what did he do? What did he claim to do?
He said that he killed Saul, and also, a.k.a. the Lord's anointed.
A.k.a. the Lord's anointed, that's right. And so, what did you tell me when we talked about this is the big lesson from this, from David's life in this? Here he is. He gets to be king when Saul's not, but he won't lay a finger on God's anointed. And then when he hears that someone did, he punishes them. What do you think is the big lesson?
That you should trust God.
Yeah, you should trust God. When things are bad, when things are hard, when people are doing things that you don't want them to do, we can trust God. Even when it's hard, even when if we took matters into our own hands, we might benefit from it. It's not worth it, right? Because what we got to do is trust God. So, in a hard season where we don't know what's going on, where we don't know who's sick and who's not, we can trust the Lord. The Lord is in control of our lives. He's in control of our situation, and He is going to take care of us. And Chloe and I hope that that gives you bright hope for tomorrow. Good night, everybody.